So Dee, here we are with Tracy Tresidder. I'm very excited to have her joining us. She is a golf mind expert.
I'm excited.
Thanks for joining us, Tracy. So we have got Tracy involved because we've had a lot of questions about the yips and what they are and how to fix them, and are they in fact fixable? So we've got Tracy along. So Tracy, can you explain to us first what the yips are?
Certainly. So I'm going to give the scientific definition, and this comes from the Mayo Clinic. So they say the yips is a psychoneuromuscular problem that often occurs in golf, especially during putting and chipping, when the golfer experiences freezing, jerking, or a tremor prior to initiating a putt or chip. And the psychoneuromuscular simply means that the mind controls the muscles. It's not a disease, as some people have said to me. I've got the chipping.
It feels like a disease if you've got them, though, isn't it?
But it's more likely a phobia that develops and then becomes a habitual state of mind. So I thought that was an interesting one from the.
Yeah. So it's a legitimate issue.
Tracy, does that mean, like, with the neurological connections in the brain, that they're just something's disturbing the connections that we've got, like we're normally feeling calm and the neurological connections being disturbed because of some anxiety or fear?
Yeah, it's not so much the neurochemical being disturbed, the wiring, which we know is kind of like a whole bunch of tree branches. The wiring is based on it's called Hebb's law, which is what fires together wires together. Mm-hmm. So the more repetitively you do something, the more it gets embedded. So it's a little bit like skiing down a slope. When you ski down the slope and you go back up and you ski down the same path and go back up and ski down the same path, eventually you forge a really strong, deep track in that path. And that's a bit like your brain. So when you first get, when something first happens, such as you miss 2 or 3 putts early in the game, and then you continue to miss them, and then you walk away from the course and you're worried about, oh my God, I'm going to miss all these short putts and I'm hopeless at putting. And then you start this whole mental routine about how bad you are. You start to lay down that pathway for the anxiety to develop very early on. So even before you get to the course, you've stepped into that track. And then your brain just goes on automatic. So your subconscious takes over and you just automatically have those fearful thoughts.
And we should quickly just say it's manifested in that you go to putt and you get this kind of physical movement of your hands, like a jolt or a jerk, and you have literally no control over it. I've actually had the yips, and it's really not life-changing, golf-changing, which is life, right? But it is. It's a horrible thing, and you have no control over it. So what you're saying, just so people know, if they're not sure what the yips are, that you go to putt, particularly short ones, probably less than about 3 feet, when you're kind of expecting to get it, you go to stroke the putt and you get this involuntary kind of flinch. Yeah.
I must say that's one of the best, congratulations, one of the best definitions I've heard. You know, the idea of going down the ski slope and you're just making that track. Same things happening in the mind here for putting. Great. That just really gels. I think that was fantastic.
And this is why it's so hard to change. It's not impossible, but it's difficult to change because we are habitually so used to thinking that way that you just naturally fall into that routine. And so people often get the yips for weeks, months, even years. And unless, there's ways out of it, but it's that classic anxiety and tension that you have over that shot. And as Anne, you quite rightly said, it's more about the expectation. Nobody gets the yips over a 30 feet putt.
That's right. No one gets them on the long putts, do they?
Because they don't expect that putt's going to go in. But when they're standing, this far away from the putt, their mind automatically goes, well, you should get this one. And then the minute you miss it, you start this whole, we call it flipping your lid. So neurochemically, you start to push adrenaline and cortisol. You start to, your pupils dilate, your heart rate increases, your blood pressure increases. all these things come in to protect you, to stop, to keep you safe, because your brain thinks it's going into a threat state. But in fact, the threat state is just that 3-foot putt in front of you, which is, that's how your mind works. And so you're now pushing all these chemicals, which cause you to tighten up, to squeeze tighter on the putter or the wedge or whatever it is you're using. And then you just, when you're tight, of course, you, as you know, you can't hit the ball well. So you lose all your rhythm and your sense of flow.
Yeah.
So that's for the short putts, but I know golf pros and a lot of amateurs even get the yips for their chipping. And, you know, that's kind of, I find that one even stranger because, you know, you're not expecting to chip in all the time, especially, you know, if you're off 36, 18. So that must be, how does that happen, Tracy?
Yeah, so it's once again, it's an expectation thing. So they're expecting that the shot is not going to work, that they're either going to thin it and, you know, hit it across the green, or they're going to flub it and it's going to go 2 feet. So there's this expectation because of it happening once or twice. It can be as little as, you know, once or twice. There's this expectation that it's going to happen. So when they stand over that chip shot, they stab at it or they thin it or they top it because they're tense and they're tight, because their brain is going into this reactive state.
Yeah.
And so really the key is to be able to calm your brain down, to get
So
you back
lower
into
your expectation?
Which is not easy to do, is it, to lower your expectation?
Well, it's a mindset, it's a thought process. So it's something that you can practice every day. You can even do it not on the golf course, but it starts with noticing your thoughts. So, and I say to people, this is a really important piece, because we have within our brain, we have what we call the inner witness and the inner critic. And the inner critic, when you stand over that ball, will go, oh, for God's sake, don't, you know, just don't stab at it. Don't do this. Make sure, you know, don't flub it. Don't thin it. And your inner critic, oh, you're so stupid. You just can't do it. It beats you up the whole time. But your inner observer is the one that goes, oh, you're having that thought again. So at that point, you can actually start to separate yourself from that thought and go, thanks for the thought, but I'm not going to pay any attention to it. So I'm going to get very present, because the thought is based on what's happened in the past or what is about to happen in the future. And when you're past and future thinking, that's when that whole fear-based, anxiety-provoking, brain-flipping piece comes in. So if we get very present, there's no danger right here, right now.
Yeah.
Nobody holding a gun to your head saying that if you miss this shot, you're going to lose the house.
But that would indicate that we have sort of control over the way we think. And I know in my experience of the yips, it wouldn't have really mattered what I said to myself. I still got it's like, it's almost an involuntary, you know.
I must admit, I've never had the yips. I've never had chipping. And I have people who come to me who have those issues. And it's like, you know, we can do technical things, mind things, as you're talking about. But sometimes it's very hard for me. I go, when you've never had it, because I'm always like, I'm just the best putter there is. And every, you know, I say even great putters miss, and so what? It doesn't, you know, so you're right. It's
I think
mindset.
certain personality types are more susceptible. Am I right, Tracy?
Yes. And I'm doing some research about that at the moment for my next book, which is going to be about golf and personality. So we'll have to talk about that later when I've finished my research on that one. But
all right.
Quite rightly, there's a level of confidence that it's a self-belief that if you believe that you can do it, even though, and you believe that, yeah, everybody hits a bad shot. I mean, did you watch the golf this morning? Did you watch Thousand put it over the cliff on the 18th or whatever? Like, oh my God, what was going on there? Well, he was having a brain flip, and he was flipping his lid, and he was getting tight and tense, and he was probably focused too much on the outcome and not very present. So when you get very focused on the outcome, that's when you start to flip your lid, which then causes all these chemical reactions to happen. So we have to understand that, yes, it is an actual thing that happens, but it's not a disease. I had this woman come to me once and she said, oh, I've got the chipping yips. it's a disease I caught from my husband. And I went, I said, too much information, please don't share anymore.
Yeah.
She said, oh, I had the yips and now I've got them. And I go, well, the good news is it's not a disease and that it's literally a state of mind that we can work on.
So it is fixable.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I can't tell you how many people I've worked with this particular one. I mean, and look, I'll give you a really simple one. Just a friend of mine I was playing with, and this was on his full swing on the tee. This was not on.
Like Charles Barkley, right? He's had that swing yips, hasn't he?
Yeah, and he'd get back into his full swing and then he'd do this funny jerking kind of motion and you go, what the hell? And he knew he was doing it anyway. So the whole idea is to take your mind off or mind away from the technical thinking, because that's part of the problem is we try to think of too many, put my elbow here, put my hand there, I've got my wrist, am I doing this, am I doing that? All the technical thinking just completely gets in the way of flow, of your rhythm. Yeah. So in this instance, I said to John, what's your favourite song? And he goes, Burning Rings of Fire. And I go, rightio. And we were literally playing golf on a Sunday. So I dialed up on Spotify on my phone, Burning Rings of Fire, and I played it for him as we walked along the fairway. And I said, come on, John, you've got to sing it with me. So we sang it down the fairway. And then when we got onto the next tee, I just pulled it up again for literally 5 seconds and played it. And I said, I want you to sing that song in your head.
During the swing?
During the swing.
Right.
And I tell you, he pulled that club back and swung perfectly.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I know it can be as quick to fix as it is to get into them in the first place. It's a flipping of the way your brain is working, exactly. Isn't it? And it takes your mind off what could go wrong, putting it onto something. I was thinking as I was driving over here to do this, to see Dennise, I was thinking something like saying a word in your swing or in your putting stroke too, like Rumpelstiltskin or some, just it means nothing. It just means you're thinking about saying that, not thinking about what can go wrong. So it's a similar type of thing.
Absolutely. And that's, so I call that a loop thought. And if it's about creating something in your mind that takes your mind away from past and future. Mm-hmm. And it just keeps you very present in the here and now. So with putting, I often say to people, back forward, or draw the line. So there's a whole range of things, of different words that you can use, and you just literally create it. So me personally, I say draw the line because that's just reminding me to draw the line to the
Which
hole.
is good anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I stand over the ball, I literally in my head to myself, I go, draw the line, 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 draw the line. And I just say that as I take the club back and I take the club forward. Mm-hmm. And that's it. And nothing else.
Yeah.
Is that, Tracy, because when you're doing that, is the yips, you like this fear of contact, fear of the consequence of that contact? So when you're saying draw the line, you're not worrying about contact or anything. It's just, and you're not worried about technique. It's just something in your right brain that's allowing you to do that rather than all the technical stuff.
Yeah, because your body knows what it should be doing. I mean, you've putted a million times before, or maybe I'm exaggerating. You putted a lot before.
Oh, we've putted a million times, I'm sure.
And excusing bad technique. So sometimes, you can see the technique is on that person is wrong. And so
that's often caused it in the first place, hasn't it? The poor technique makes you miss a few, you lose confidence, so it often is caused by poor technique, but then it becomes mental, doesn't it?
Exactly. And so as I say to people, make sure you have a putting lesson to make sure that there's no technical error, because basically your body knows what to do. And then if you've got your technical piece right, then you just go, okay, let me draw the line.
Yeah.
And it's about making a focus of concentration on something that's right here and now in the present,
mm-hmm.
as opposed to past or future.
Mm-hmm.
The other one that's really handy with putting, and I've done this, Anne, when we did those golf schools years ago, if you stare at the ball hard enough and you putt the ball away, you'll see a black hole.
Actually, Dennise promotes that too, don't you? Yeah, talks about that.
And you don't get it if you haven't focused intently on the ball.
That is so interesting, because people, I've had people, Tracy, I'd love your opinion on this. I've had players who've been playing for some time, and I forget who told me that. I don't know if it's when I was on tour, whatever. But I've had men who just say they can't see, and everyone else is seeing it. And I've got some more men than women who just go, I don't even know what you guys are talking about. It's not there. And you think, well, that's really strange. But as you say, is that they're just not focusing. Their intent is not there. Their focus is scattered. Can you help us out on that one?
Yeah, I just say to them they've got to focus on a dimple. And when your eye focuses on that point, it creates almost like a laser image of it. And when that thing is gone, you still see it. Now you'll see, if you stare at a light and then look away, or you move the light, you'll see the image of where the light was. Same thing. So they're not seeing it. It's because they're not focusing intently. And I say, stare at a dimple on the ball and hold that stare and then and just doing that is enough to get people present, which takes them out of past and future thinking, which has not worry about stabbing it or pushing it or whatever.
What worked for me, I changed my grip, which is the most common thing that people do, change something up dramatically. I went left hand low and that worked. But then after a while it stopped working and I started to yip again. So
change again.
Yeah.
Is that just getting out of your normal pattern, Tracy? Is that when you go and do something totally different, it creates a different pathway?
Pathway. Yeah.
It does create a different pathway, but it doesn't address the issue around your belief and your thought process. It's kind of like a Band-Aid. It'll work for a while.
Yeah,
but
and that's exactly what happened. Yeah,
it'll come back.
Yeah, like Bernhard Langer, who's the classic of changing his grips up. He invented the claw, didn't he? Because he tried so many different. Yeah, he's all right now though. He maybe got to the bottom of the mental side of it, like you're suggesting.
Yeah.
So a question for you regarding the mind in that respect with putting. Do you think sometimes, like I know with golf students, when they have a lesson, you're telling them, work on your technical, and they do. And I say, but you've also got to go and practice working on quietening your mind, being in the present, not lots of clutter. But people it's one of the dangers as a golf coach that you're going to give them technical work, but you also have to give them work where their mind is uncluttered, where they're allowing their right side to do it. So one of the things that I'd like your opinion on is, I see over putting, sometimes people just stay over the ball, probably for full shots as well, far too long. And when they're staying over the ball, that must be creating too many thinking processes. So you look at the world's best putters and they tend to be quite quick. They've seen it, they've done it, bang, over the ball, off they go. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And there was some research done on that around take a little bit longer to stare at the hole where the ball is going into, or stare at the point of where you want it to break, either or. So take a fraction longer, because most people look at that momentarily and then they come back and then they seem to be in slow motion. Well, and we can literally see their brain thinking. That's when it's dangerous, because it's very hard to quieten. That's why golf is such a difficult game, because you have too much time when you're not doing it. And that creates space. Your brain creates 30 or 40,000 thoughts a day. And guess where a lot of them occur, which is on the golf course while you're standing over. So the idea is to not take too long. So stand over the ball, look at the hole or the point of the break, wherever it is your aim is. Just take an extra second to stare at that, come back to the ball, and then go. There shouldn't be any delay in that stare, back, go. It should be very quick.
Yeah.
Well, not that quick that it's ridiculous, but it's got to be not standing over the ball. And in fact, when I'm playing with people, sometimes I'll actually time them. And I particularly on the tee, and I'll say to them, you stood over that ball for like 30 seconds, which is a long time. I can't imagine what your brain was telling you. And they
wouldn't realise it, because there's so many processes that they've got to go through. I used to do that myself. I used to look at the hole about 8 times.
Really?
when I was in college golf in America, my coach would say, you know, you looked at the hole 12 times that time. I wouldn't have known because it was just, I was a great putter though. But that was just a routine I had got myself into. I was a great putter early in my career.
You're a great
Once I
putter.
got the yips.
Tracy, in your Golf Mind playbook, are there techniques in? I should have read that book. I apologise.
I've read it. It's excellent.
I'm sure Tracy's going to be sending me a copy, and we can recommend it. Well,
it's very good. It's really straightforward, practical advice on the mental side.
Yeah, yeah.
So there are techniques in there in that book?
Yes, yes. And I think one of the ones that you're referring to, Dennise, is around the how to get back into the present moment. So I've got a technique which actually isn't in the book, but I'm happy to share it now. It's called BACK, B-A-C-K. And so the B, this is about how to get your lid. So when your brain goes off into its threat state, we call it lid. So this is your prefrontal cortex kind of goes out of play. So the B stands for back. B stands for breathe. I want you to do what we call 7-11 breathing. Breathe in for the count of 7, hold, and then breathe out for the count of 11. And the out breath has to be longer than the in breath. And this is important because it actually activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which calms you down.
Oh, that's a great tip, isn't it?
7. Yeah, breathe in 7 and then out for 11. And 7-11 is an easy thing to remember.
Yeah.
7-11.
Yeah.
2 rounds of 7-11 breathing. So that's like as you're walking onto the putting green or as you're walking up to chip your ball, you just do 2 rounds of 7-11 breathing, and that starts to get you very present.
Mm-hmm.
The A is to acknowledge how you feel, and acknowledging the feeling in a very short, snappy sentence, like, I'm having the thought that I'm a bit worried right now, or I'm having the thought that I don't want to mess this up.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put a full stop at the end of that. Now, the research tells us if you expand the thought into a whole story of, oh, I'm having the thought that I'm going to mess this up because, oh my God, I did it last week and on the last hole, and then you go into this full story, that just makes that whole feeling get very large. But if you acknowledge the thought in one short sentence, it actually causes the feeling that goes with it to dissipate.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
which is because, it's all about the feeling that's happening in your body.
Because I was thinking, well, just acknowledging it, isn't that what you're trying to not do, you know, but what you've just answered that question for me.
Is that a little bit with like, my sister does a lot of work with something called ACT, which is with Harris.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And actually, I did an interview with a British PGA professional, because he uses ACT in his teaching. So we had a 45-minute conversation about that. That's on my website if you want to have a look at it.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so you'll find that really quite interesting. So yeah, acceptance commitment therapy.
Yeah.
It's also the last chapter in my book, acceptance training, or whatever you want to call it.
Okay, so we've got BA.
BA. C is to choose. Choose what your best self would do. So if you were at your best right now, how would you be?
Say, what would Anne Roller do in this game?
Yeah.
Did you say chew, like chewing gum? Oh,
choose. What would Dennise Hutton do in this situation?
Eat chewing gum. How am I going to chew?
What would a golf professional do in this? Right? Is that what you're saying, basically?
And my clients say, what would Tracy say?
That's right. That's it.
And
Someone just knows what they're talking about.
Ideally, you have in your little kit bag about 2 or 3 different words. It might be calm, confident, relaxed, present. I don't know, whatever the word is for you. Choose what your best self would do, and ultimately in service of your values. So I say to people, think about what's important about golf for you. Why do you love playing golf? You know, there are so many reasons, and it's about getting back to that value of why this is important. Not because the house is on it, you know, you're not betting the house, but it's because of, you know, beautiful surroundings like Jack's Point behind me, or camaraderie and friends, or time in nature, or whatever it is.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Yeah, and the K is kick it into action. And that is be that way. So if you choose to be confident, be that way for the next 10 minutes. So what does that look like? And the classic example is when you walk onto the green, you walk a little bit taller and you walk with your chest out and you walk confidently and you stand in a nice confident position. You don't shrink onto the, you know, with your head down and you're dragging and saying, oh my God, this is so bad, I'm going to be putting so badly. You don't do anything of that. You are being the way you want to be.
Oh, that's good advice. That's good for the whole game, not just putting, isn't it? It's good for everything.
So the BACK is the way to get your lid back down. So breathe, acknowledge, choose, and kick into action. And you can do all that in the space of a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
In between shots. And it just gets you back into that present moment and being how you want to be.
Fantastic.
That's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah,
I just love it.
And the more you do it, the quicker you do it, and you could just get really into a good routine of getting yourself, and it sort of gets you into the present too, doesn't it? Right, here we go, about to hit a shot or have a putt.
I'm sure our viewers are just going to love the fact that, you know, you were talking about it's not just the mind, it's using your mind and going with your values. So that's just going to help so much more in that. Yeah, I mean, I love what you've said there. Love it.
So Tracy, you've got a couple of great books. You've got Golf Mind Play and you've got a match play book, so the mental side of match play, which a lot of people would love. You also do one-on-one consultation. So if anyone's really struggling with the yips, for example, or any of their mental side of the game, they're really nervous, or you know, they've got to the point where they're not enjoying their game because of the nerves or the mental side, then they can talk to you directly. So just go to the website, golfmindplay.com, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's all into competition. I just thought of it just then. It's going to cost Tracy a book.
Right.
You know, the first person who, when we put this out, has a great comment, first great comment, we can give them one of Tracy's books.
Okay, good idea. As long as Tracy's okay with that.
I will just buy it off Tracy.
Yeah,
It's fine.
she'll do us a good deal.
And I'll send you a
Oh, you're a gem. Thank you.
She doesn't really do it. She's very positive on the Tracy, this has been fantastic.
Oh, I loved it.
Really great advice, great tips. Wonderful.
And you're based at in Sydney and Roseville, so we can get our clients and students to get in touch with you. So we'll have.
They can do it all Zoom, and they don't have to be local.
No, they don't have to be local.
I've got clients all over the world, so we can so long as we can Zoom, we can do it anywhere.
So long as we can Zoom.
Gotta love Zoom.
Love Zoom.
Thanks so much, Tracy. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tracy. That was fantastic. Bye.
Absolutely. See you.